We will begin our public hearings in just a moment, but first we will take care of a little housekeeping business, namely the minutes from our October 12th minutes require action. Those have been distributed to the commission members. Is there a motion for action on our minutes of October 12th?
Move approval of the minutes. Second.
Thank you both. Discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Minutes are approved. And we can move into the public hearing schedule for this evening. But before we begin the first hearing, I want to ask if there is an update to the agenda for this evening in terms of applications that we will be hearing tonight.
Yes, good evening, Commission members. We have two public hearings that are proposed by St. Joseph's Health Center Properties, Inc. They sent an email late this afternoon requesting to hold those until November 22nd, as they need to revise their plans, mainly their re-subdivision and the physical configuration of the properties. So if anyone is here to speak for or against the St. Joseph's plans at 609 to 621 North Townsend Street and 103 Union Ave rear, the applicant is not present this evening, but we will hold another hearing for both the Plan Institutional District Plan Amendment and the re-subdivision on November 22nd, if this commission authorizes those hearings to be held over. So again, if anyone is here for those two, there will not be a presentation this evening. I hope that it doesn't cause anyone any issues.
Whenever the applicant does resubmit a revised application, the same notification process will be observed as for this meeting. So if you receive notification on either of those projects for tonight's meeting, you'll receive similar notification for any subsequent meeting where those applications are entertained.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Thank you.
So when we may, if other people join the meeting at a later time, we might reiterate that announcement just in case, so no one has to sit here unnecessarily. So with that, we'll begin our public hearings for this evening. Just by way of background for those who are new to this process, as each application is announced by a member of the staff, we ask that the applicant come forward, or the representative come forward to the podium in the middle of the room, provide your name and address for the record, and then a brief summary of the application. And following any questions or clarification from the commission members, we will invite members of the public who wish to speak in favor of the application to do so, and then we will offer a similar opportunity for those who wish to speak in opposition to the application to do that as well. And where comments are made in opposition, we will encourage the applicant to return and address the comments made in opposition. And just as a practical matter, as you come forward to present, we ask that you are able to remove your mask to speak into the microphone. It'll help with the clarity of the presentation and any questions back and forth, and then you could put your mask back on when you return to your seat. So I think that's all we need in terms of background information. And would you please let us know the first application?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Kulik, commission members. The first public hearing is SR 0205M3. This is a site plan review for an antenna to expand an existing rooftop antenna array at 1000 Bellevue Avenue. Bellevue Apartments LLC is the owner. Pyramid Network Services is the applicant, and the property lies within a residential Class AA zoning district.
Hello, I'm Cassandra Darmody. I'm here on behalf of T-Mobile. don't know if you need my address or T-Mobile's address or the apartment's address.
The business address is fine.
6615 Towpath Road is where Pyramid's located. As you guys may be aware or may not, T-Mobile and Sprint merged, and the 1000 Bellevue Ave is where Sprint's located, and T-Mobile needs to change out the equipment from Sprint to T-Mobile.
And maybe could you just kind of summarize what that operation
that-
involves? A number
So
of
all
pieces
the
being.
antennas for Sprint will come down, and then we'll replace them with T-Mobile Sprint in order to get the network, to get them involved in the network.
Okay, so equal number of pieces of equipment coming down
Actually, I
versus
think
going
we
up?
have more antennas going up. Hold on. I believe it's 3 more antennas. Hold on, please. Sorry.
And maybe say something about placement on the rooftop?
Yes, they did, they are proposing to add a couple sleds instead of having them mounted to the stairwell shaft. I guess that's what you'd call it. And that would it would offer better coverage in that area for T-Mobile customers. So, that's what they're proposing. I'm sorry, I had this all out, I was looking at it. Yeah, we're removing 6 antennas and adding 9.
Sorry,
Yes.
removing?
Removing 6 antennas and adding 9.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the applicant on the project?
No.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward, provide your name and address and your comments.
Ooh, sorry.
Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward with your name, address, and comments. No one wishes to speak on this application, so we will close the hearing and pause momentarily to entertain a motion on the site plan review.
Motion to approve with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? SR-02-05M3 is approved. Thank you.
The next public hearing is R2149. This is a re-subdivision to combine 2 properties into one new lot at 438 and 440 Columbus Avenue. The Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation are the owners and applicants. Properties lie within a residential class B1 zoning district. This is the Gustav Stickley House, a local protected site. A variance was approved on Thursday to expand the museum with 5 guest rooms in 1 apartment. And this is to combine a small slither of land next to the main property.
Thank you. I'm Caitlin Wright. I'm the Executive Director of the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation, located at 431 East Fayette Street, Syracuse, New York. The existing property at 438 Columbus is approximately 61 feet wide, and on your in the packet there, you can see on the resub map, there's a flag-shaped parcel next door that has about 10 feet of frontage. It's a pretty steep slope there between the Stickley House's driveway and the neighbor's driveway that's probably about 5 feet higher. So we think it makes sense to merge these properties together because there's really no use for this 10-foot wide parcel on its own, but we don't expect it to be developed or anything about our previous site plans to change because it is such a steep slope.
Okay, thank you. Questions for the applicant?
No, I'm all set.
Okay, thank you. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward, provide your name and address and your comments. No additional speakers here. We will close this hearing and entertain a motion for this re-subdivision.
Second.
So seconds. Okay, thank you. Discussion on the motion. All in favor then, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The re-subdivision is approved. Our next application, please.
The next hearing is PR 2120. This is a project site review for facade alterations at 706 to 710 North Salina Street. Rosalinda Abbey, ACCM Holdings LLC is the owner and applicant. The property lies within a commercial Class A zoning district.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Link Logan. I work for North Setup on their Center State, from Center State CO. Our address is 115 West Fayette Street. Just for clarification, I also just live around the corner from this property site too, so I'm pretty familiar with it. Rosalinda is not able to be here tonight. She sends her regards. She's actually at her business because she's currently open during this time, so I'm here speaking on her behalf. Her architect, Jared McCormick from Dan Manning, was also not able to be here tonight, so that's why I'm here. I direct the program and I've been working with Rosalinda for many years. She was an applicant from our 2009 New York Main Street program, and so I'm pretty familiar with her business. And so this is a really good opportunity for her to expand her business. She's currently located just down the street in another storefront in a building that she owns. She had relocated her business further down North Salina Street to the 300 block, but that building she had to get moved out of because it was falling down around her. And so this project that she is proposing today is a building that she purchased last year, right when the pandemic started, and she's been working on this project during that time to basically combine the two storefronts on the first floor into one, and as a result of that, she needs to redo the facade, which is, I believe, part of the reason why I'm here in front of you today. And I believe the other part of it has to do with some parking issues. The site is entirely occupied by the building. There is no room on it to create any additional parking. And so I believe that Jared had been working with Jeff maybe about a parking waiver for this as well. So I'm not sure if that's part of this application tonight, but I just wanted to clarify that that's something else that she would like.
The parking waiver is actually part of the application, so that's an aspect that this project is seeking. What we would ask you to do is provide some rationale to justify the waiver.
Yep. Happy to do that. So I asked Rosalinda in preparation for this, specifically around the parking waiver, you know, how many people she usually gets in a given day and what her hours of operation and stuff. So she's open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and from Sunday from 2 to 6. She said that she averages probably about 4 customers an hour, with about 70% of those arriving by car and the other 30% or so arriving by foot. Her business is just down the street, like I mentioned, and she currently has no parking at that space, and everybody just drives up and parks or walks. The upper floors of the building are currently office space, and that's her intention, is to keep them as such. So they aren't, I think there's one tenant in there now, but over the years they've been various levels of tenants in there. So, you know, it's just, there's no place for parking. Everybody on North Salina Street parks on the street or on the side streets, and she's expecting nothing different here as well.
Any questions for the applicant on this project?
Yes, there was a review by the Syracuse Landmark Preservation Board.
Correct.
And they offered some recommendations. It seems as though she's agreed to all of those.
So the recommendations that I understand has to do with where the sign is placed on the building, and the architect had worked up 3 different alternatives. She was in favor of the alternative that ultimately the Landmark Preservation Board recommended, so she has no concerns about that, and I actually was pretty excited to learn that that was the one that was recommended.
Great, thank you.
Additional questions?
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. We have no further speakers here as well. We'll close this hearing and entertain a motion for action on PR-21-20, project site review.
Move approval with a negative declaration noting that the conditions from the Preservation Board are met.
Second.
Discussion on the motion before us? Then all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? That is approved. Thank you very much. Our next public hearing this evening.
Next public hearing is SP 2111. This is a special permit for a restaurant at 746 South Cross Avenue. DB Real Estate Kraus LLC is the owner, and Luke Nicolette is the applicant. The property lies within a Business Class A zoning district.
I am Luke Nicoletti, the owner of Purple Banana, requesting a special permit to operate at 754 South Cross Ave, Syracuse. We also have requesting a parking waiver due to the fact that it's all foot traffic up there with local students, professionals, doctors, nurses. And there's also plenty of on-street parking and parking garages in the area.
Planning board members, staff, welcome, good evening. Sorry, I didn't realize we were up so soon. Purple Banana, it's a tenant infill. Oh, I'm sorry. Craig Polhamus, I'm the architect, 114 East Genesee Street, Fayetteville, New York. As I catch my breath.
Take your time.
Purple Banana is a simple tenant infill in an existing building up on the hill. If Luke here hasn't already told you, its intent is to provide healthy berry bowls for the folks on the hill, the students, as well as the medical staff at the hospitals nearby. If you're not familiar with the site, it's right next to the varsity. If you don't know that, I can't help you. And it's directly in line with the Marshall Street corridor. As you know, there's a number of wonderful eateries here, and this is going to be one more. Technically, it's a conversion. Originally, I believe this was a bookstore. Then most recently, it was a business occupancy. And now we propose to do a conversion to a restaurant, which is why we're here tonight. The facade, you can see here, it's shared by Dunkin' Donuts, and then there's a tenant space upstairs. I remember it was a former client of mine, Framology, but currently it's vacant. Years ago it was a beauty salon, but there's a vacant space above here that goes back. The floor plan is pretty simple. There's 26 seats inside. There's a serving area. The menu is not very complex. There's no cooking involved, no grease generated, although that's a discussion we will have with the Onondaga County Plumbing Authority. We're providing 2 new bathrooms to serve the patrons. And basically that's it. Simple infill. There is a full basement, or partial basement under this, where the utilities come in, but it's unoccupied. And last but not least, I wanted to show the site plan that we modified for staff to show the parking that is shared behind the building, even though we're not expecting any of our patrons to utilize it. There was a question of access, and we jumped on that as quick as we could, and we do have an access easement that can be provided as part of the application. But in essence, there's 5 designated parking spots just behind the building, 2 of which are for Dunkin' Donuts, and 3 would be required for the vacant space upstairs if in fact it was ever occupied. So with that, I would be happy to entertain any questions you might have.
There are, I think, there's several, I think it's maybe 3 altogether waivers that are associated with the application, and your colleague already addressed the one pertaining to parking. There are 2 more, and I'd ask, could you address each of those? They may be straightforward, but we do ask for a rationale in order for the commission to grant the waiver.
Yep, you're going to have to remind me on the second one. I know the third was 8-foot vegetated area in front of the building. That would apply if it was new construction, but in fact, the building line is the face of the building, so it's impossible to provide that 8-foot zone. It is very attractively landscaped in front, part of the city beautification effort with bricks and trees, so there's plenty of space outdoors in front of the building. The second one, what was that about?
The second one had to do with curbing to prevent the encroachment of motor vehicles onto adjacent property. And so this actually relates to the spaces behind the building.
Right.
Could you talk about that,
None of
please?
which we're planning to utilize. Whatever curbing exists is there. I do know that there is a curb stop because there's a depressed area where you walk down to egress the building. So there's an existing curb stop there. Beyond that, it's kind of a free-for-all type of parking, typically for the employees of Varsity and some of the other businesses in the back. It was kind of confusing to make sense of it. But the access to this, on this property, is only about 4.5 feet along the side of the building, which necessitated the access easement, which we've just completed. John Dellis issued this access easement to himself because he owns the property next door.
Okay, thank you. Other questions concerning this project?
No.
Okay, thank you both very much.
Thank you for letting me catch my breath.
Certainly. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward to do so. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Please come to the podium, provide your name and address and your comments. We have no additional speakers for this application, so we will close this hearing and entertain a motion on the special permit SP-21-11.
Move approval with a negative declaration granting waivers for 18 off-street parking spaces, a waiver for on-site curbing, and a waiver for the street line treatment that's required.
Thank you both. Discussion on the motion before us? And those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? SP-21-11 is approved. That will move us to, I believe, our final hearing for this evening.
The next public hearing is SP 0713M1. This is a special permit modification to expanding an existing restaurant at 1331 West Fayette Street and 1216 to 1230 West Fayette Street. Roco Inc. and Donahue Enterprises LLC are the owners. Michelle Roche is the applicant, and this lies within a split zoning district of Business Class A. And that is not true. It lies within a Business Class A zoning district. Thank you.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Roche. I'm the owner of Roco Inc. We currently own 1331 West Fayette Street on Tip Hill. We also own and operate the Brasserie Bar and Bistro in Camillus. We've operated that for 6.5 years. I wanted to come here to present this project to you. We're looking to renovate this existing building on Tip Hill. Before I owned this business, my dad owned it for 20 years, so he's owned this building for 20 years. So we've been part of the Tip Hill community for a very long time. I actually lived there myself for 5 years. So we're looking to expand the building that's currently vacant into a three-floor bar and restaurant. So I know it's a very large project that we're looking to do, but I am very tight with this community and passionate about improving it and keeping it alive. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Anthony. He works for In Architects, and we've partnered on this project together.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anthony Rojas. I'm the architect for the project on behalf of In Architects. We're currently located at 239 East Water Street, right across the street here. And so we're here for a modification to a special use permit. As Michelle mentioned, we are expanding the former restaurant and bar on the first floor to occupy both existing levels. If anyone knows the site, this is right at the corner of Fayette and Wilbur. So the Fayette side actually shows both levels of the building that exists today, but the Wilbur side, because of topography, raises up, and on the back side, there's only a single level. And then we also have planned to do a rooftop bar on the uppermost level. So this perspective here that you're seeing is from the Fayette side. We do show a couple of outdoor seating spaces. This is from another perspective, same Fayette side. But we've got a couple of outdoor seating spaces because there will be some seasonality to this restaurant and bar. We really do anticipate that during the summer months or during the warmer months, most of the patrons will want to frequent the rooftop area, but during the winter times, we will be occupying the first and the second floor of the indoor spaces in which these outdoor spaces would not be, occupied. Because of our tight constraints within the street, and you'll notice that the sidewalk really doesn't have any additional barrier or space between the facade and the curb, we anticipate this center area with the wood kind of railing to be more of a removable railing to allow for that courtyard that will be enclosed during the summer and the spring months or the warmer months to then be taken down to allow for any snow removal and clearing to be pushed up against the building in an area that becomes a little deeper and make sure that it's completely cleaned for all patrons and pedestrians walking up this sidewalk. So we want to make that area for all of the, capturing our snow. From the Wilbur side, this is an additional perspective. We will not have any entrances from this side. All the patrons will be entering from the Fayette side, but we still wanted to take advantage of the deep easement, public right-of-way in this area and convert it to more of a public and kind of pedestrian and amenity space. We would like to have green space, maybe some raised planters, something to kind of engage the community and maybe grow some vegetated, plantings within this area, and then possible, moments of engagement for pedestrians to just kind of sit and enjoy the outdoor space. In terms of parking requirements, that is one of the waivers we're requesting today. The Tip Hill neighborhood, as we all may know, is very community-oriented. Many of the patrons of their local restaurants are living and working within the Tip Hill neighborhood. Michelle did approach several of the property owners adjacent to this property to see if there was any agreements that could be made for off-street parking, and she did find one that was available It's approximately 500 feet away, depending on where your start and stop point is on that, on the map. But she did, under lease agreement, acquire 28 parking spaces that will be dedicated to her new facility here. And we know that it's substantially less than what's required by code, but again, we think many of the patrons will be walking here or using on-street parking to visit the facility temporarily. And I'm not, I think that's most of the comments that were previously made here. Let me go down my list here.
Anthony, are these new?
Yes, so we made updates to those drawings that are in front of you based on the comments that we received from the city thus far. Additional information on what the outdoor seating is going to, materials that we'll be using there. In regards to that, the materials that are used in the outdoor seating areas will be a pervious material, so either a decking material or an open paver, material, something that will allow for runoff to just go through the site the way it is today. And primarily the reason we don't want to do anything raised in that center section for the removable screen walls is for the snow. So we want that to be able to be mounded up in that area and allow that to seep into the ground where it's mounded up.
This project also had a series of waivers associated with it, and you just, I think, addressed the one related to parking. But there are several others, and could you speak to those as well, please?
So the landscape treatment areas, anywhere that there is greenery today, we're trying to, well, actually, this entire Wilbur side is currently asphalt. There used to be parking on the back side of this building, so we're completely ripping out all of that asphalt, redoing the sidewalks back there. There's no additional curb cuts or anything, being requested for anything. We want to turn it into green space. So we're really transforming all of this Wilbur side, back into new green area. In regards to the Fayette side, there really isn't any current green space landscaped areas existing today. We are incorporating some greenery elements along the screen wall portion. Within the horizontal kind of screening element, as well as along the mound, kind of along the side as you transition from Fayette to Wilbur side. We're trying to add as much green as we can, but there is limited space in terms of area and what currently exists today.
So on the Wilbur Street side, just stay with this particular item for a minute. You're taking out, right now from the face of the building to the curb is all asphalt?
To the sidewalk.
To the sidewalk.
Correct, is asphalt.
So between the sidewalk and the curb?
It will all be green space as well.
So that's where the 8-foot planting's supposed to go, or is that what you?
Currently, there's less than 8 feet between the curb and I think it's closer to 6. But everything that's not concrete sidewalk will be green space.
But the issue for us, the deviation, is that planting strip from the curb into the sidewalk, and staff, please correct me if I'm wrong, is supposed to be 8 feet wide, and what you're saying is there's only 6 feet.
Yes, I believe it's closer to 6.
So then the deviation that's being requested is to reduce that width,
I would like to point out that the requirement of 8 feet is to be measured inward from the property line, not the curb line.
So it's a depth.
And right,
So in this case, the face of the building is on the property line?
correct.
Okay.
So I'm trying to understand the deviation, like,
It'd be 8.
it'd be 8?
So,
Well, according to this, it'd be maybe, I don't know, 1.
Gotcha.
You see the dotted line on the site plan A200, that's the property line. The building is almost right on the line.
It's
on
right on,
Wilbur.
yeah, it's right on the line.
On Fayette, it actually encroaches in some places already onto Fayette, so.
So there's not much they could really do about
Correct, it's already physically there.
that. Okay.
In that same item in our staff report, there's also a requirement for a screen provided adjacent to either residential or office district uses, and it says here that the plan, I'm assuming now it's a previous plan, did not show the required screening along the southeast property line, and it looks like this drawing just it shows something, but it's not along the entire property line.
So the grade there in that 4-foot kind of differential between the property line and the edge of the building is actually quite a steep incline. As you're going up, you know, around the building, it goes up an entire story. And it's really an inaccessible kind of space between, you know, what currently exists. So what we did show was a screen wall that goes from that lower edge of the property line out to the sidewalk, which would be within the right of way. And then on the Wilbur side, we do show an enclosed dumpster area, which are, you know, tall screen walls in and of themselves. So we saw them as a kind of a dual purpose. They would be screening the dumpster area, but also, you know, the rest, kind of dividing the residential space, the residential properties from our commercial property.
Just trying to be able to see this. Google Maps is not being helpful. So you're saying that there's a grade change between this small residential building and yours, and so you're arguing that you don't need a screen along that whole southeast property line? Because I don't see the grade differential.
So the grade differential is from Fayette to South Wilbur, and it's an entire story. It's approximately 10 feet.
Right.
In terms of vertical change.
But the issue is screening this small little house from the commercial property that would be adjacent to it.
Yes.
So you're proposing just something essentially where the tree is.
Correct.
And not going down along the side of the small house.
Correct. So there's currently no openings or anything along that facade. It's a completely blank wall in our existing building. There's no windows or there's nothing within that facade. So really, they're staring at a screen wall. They're staring at a blank wall right now. There would be no visible activity except for that outdoor seating area, which is where we proposed that screen wall on the Fayette side.
What are you guys' hours of operation?
Hours of operation.
Oh, yeah. So we're looking to be open 7 days a week, 11 to, for the roof, we would close around 9 or 10 p.m., but inside it would be till 2 a.m. To start with, to make sure that we, have the clientele for that. When my dad owned and operated it, it was George O'Day's Pub, and those were his hours, so we would just keep those as well.
And I believe those are similar hours to other local restaurants within the Tip Hill neighborhood as well, like Coleman's and Now and Later and such. I believe they share similar hours.
Further questions for the applicant?
Use of the roof, and I'm sorry, everybody else seems to be seeing it and I'm not. Is that intended to be seasonal? You're saying that's outdoor cafe seating?
Yes, it'll be outdoor seating, and it will be primarily used when there's no snow on the ground, when it could be occupied
Okay.
comfortably.
All right. If I could, Mr. Chairman, a question for the staff. So we had a couple of applications in the Armory a few years back for rooftop dining. Is there, besides our rules about intensity and use, is there anything else the staff has to tell the commission about rooftop uses?
No, the fire department and the permit department would have to advise the applicant any further with respect to building code or international fire code.
No other questions? Thank you.
Additional questions?
I'm all set.
I would like to point out to the applicant as well as to the commission that the proposed screening wall along West Fayette Street, as illustrated, is in the city right-of-way, so that would have to be part of any application to encroach into the city right-of-way, in addition to the patios, decks, and screen walls.
Understood. Thank you. And compared to the former information in terms of that screen wall, we did lower the height of it because it was much taller before. So we did lower that, the height of that overall screen wall.
That's the one with Fayette, correct?
Correct. The wood kind of screen right in the center.
Do you have any details or an elevation drawing or proposed height for that screen wall?
I believe that is in the packet.
Is it?
I see it on sheet A200.
Yeah, it's
And A301. Yep.
10 feet, 6 inches.
That 10-foot, that larger screen wall is for the dumpster enclosure.
Oh, okay.
In A301, you'll see the south elevation. That shows the 4-foot high, kind of on the higher end.
Oh, okay, I see it.
A301, correct.
It's on the last page.
Additional questions?
Yes, there was one comment by the city's transportation planner regarding your dumpster location, that, at least at the time the comments were provided, that it does not talk about how the dumpster will be accessed by the refuse hauler, and noting that no additional curb cuts would be permitted. So can you tell us how the dumpster area indeed would be accessed?
Sure. So the screen wall right now is a 3-sided screen wall, so the side facing the building would actually remain open for access, and that's how you would slide the dumpster out around that screen wall. And then there's currently a small sidewalk that connects to the curb cut, kind of on the left side of your site plan. That piece of sidewalk exists today. The dumpsters will be privately removed by a private company, and the former days would just bring the dumpster down off the curb, load it onto the truck, and then back onto the curb. So it was all done, through the service of the trash removal. So we would not require any additional curb cuts to service the building.
He also notes enclosure should be screened with plant materials in addition to the stockade or wood panels, and that any gates must include self-closing hardware or similar. So you're saying essentially there is no gate because the whole north-ish side is going to be open?
Correct.
It's gonna be open.
Correct. It'll remain open facing the building. And then what we could do is add additional landscaping around the outside of the screen wall if that's what is required. We're currently showing it as integrated as a part of the screen wall, but if we wanted to add plantings around, in the ground around that screen wall, we could do that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Will we say the last thing you just said again, please?
That if we want additional landscaping in the ground around that screen wall,
We or, are you saying you want it, or if you want?
if it's required,
So, well, I'm just asking that for a reason.
yes.
Are we requiring them to do that?
My proposal would be to meet with the transportation planner's recommendations for that.
Okay.
So then, yes, we will. Yes.
I just have a quick question. So your renderings show signage, but none's proposed in your application. Is that,
So we still haven't finalized the quantity and the sizing and the locations of that signage, so we would follow up with an additional application. Nothing is really, this is all just for graphic representation, but we still don't know how many and what it's gonna say and the type of signage.
okay, and we can follow up with you on what is permitted so
Yes.
that you won't have to come back if you do what's allowed.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Save you some time.
Appreciate that.
Questions? Okay. Thank you both very much for the presentation. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? Please come forward. Provide your name and address and your comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. My name is Martin Masterpole. I'm a resident at 344 Coleridge Ave, which is, I don't know, quarter mile from the property. I've been there over 20 years, and I say that because I've been there basically the entire lifetime that the Roche family has owned this building, and the improvements they've made through that course of time has been tremendous. By way of background, which maybe most of you know, but I served as a city councilor, a county legislator, city auditor, and I am now county comptroller. But I stand here as strictly as a resident of Tipperary Hill and strongly support this project. I understand the waivers that are before you. Let me touch on two quickly. On my way here, I drove by the property because I lived on Coleridge, come down Wilbur, around this exact building down Fayette Street. In the 4 blocks on Wilbur Ave, from Coleridge Ave, which is where the zoo entrance is, all the way to this building, 4 blocks, legal parking on both sides of the street. There were 3 cars parked. There is plenty of adequate street parking on the Wilbur side. As you make the turn and you go now down the West Fayette Street side, which is almost the same distance. It was referenced that there's 500 feet down to Syracuse Auto, and I know that they have gone out of their way to secure that lease. I personally don't even believe that's necessary because, once again, on both sides of the street, that entire length at just before 6 p.m. tonight, 0 cars parked on that block. There's plenty of on-street parking. Follow that up with most recent innovation of ride-sharing, Lyft, Uber, as we all know it. You can walk into any Tip Hill bar, restaurant, etc., that are usually very crowded and then sort of bounce back post-pandemic. And there's plenty of parking everywhere because, quite frankly, Uber and Lyfts are abundant throughout Tip Hill, and for safety and all the other reasons for the ride-sharing, it's very effective, and parking has been other than maybe your St. Patrick's Day and some of the really big events, parking is not really an issue, especially when snow removal is addressed like the applicant is asking. Lastly, I know there's a lot of right-of-way encroachments requested for outdoor seating. Look no further than Coleman's, then Now and Later, then Recess Coffee, which actually now serves beer, with the Blarney Stone. All of which are very successful taverns, restaurants in Tip Hill that are all in the right of way. Outdoor seating is a necessary evil, and I don't even know if evil is the right word, but certainly necessary to stay competitive in the marketplace in that neighborhood. So as a resident and a neighbor of the applicant, I think I strongly encourage and ask you to support this. And it's sort of as is. Of course, the screening or the vegetation, et cetera, that's requested, I think that's great. But this would be a huge improvement to put this building back. And for the record, too, I don't know that it was mentioned. This has not reopened post-pandemic, and I think an outdoor seating situation is very relative to that. Some folks still will come out but enjoy to sit outside for the obvious reasons. So with that being said, thank you for the opportunity to speak, but I strongly support this project.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there other individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward. So those who wish to speak regarding the application have done so, and we've heard the presentation, clarification with questions. We're in a position to close this public hearing. Entertain a motion on SP-07-13M1, the special permit modification.
I would move approval with a negative declaration granting the requested waivers on the condition that all of the staff comments by the transportation plan are met, and also noting where there are encroachment issues, that they are resolved outside of this body.
Second.
Agree. Discussion on the motion before us. If there's no discussion needed, then all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Special permit modification is approved. Thank you for your presentation. There's no one here to explain the item 6 and 7 on the agenda. It's not going to be on the agenda because I think who's remaining in the audience is here for other business. So we'll move on to new business unless there was missed in our public hearing segment. But I don't think we did.
Yeah, hang on one second. I just have to get myself situated. Okay. All right. The first new business item is Z2647M1. This is a project plan review modification, and this is to modify the rooftop of 107 College Place Center for Science and Technology building. It's planned in a planned institutional district, and the applicant is requesting to replace an existing rooftop admissions stack with 6 shorter stacks and screening. And it complies with Subdistrict 8 district plan and the PID.
Okay, thank you for the summary. Are there questions regarding this project plan review? If there are, I believe we have a representative of the applicant on hand to address questions if need be. Seems straightforward. Anyone have questions?
No.
In that case, then, is there a motion for action on the 107 College Place application?
Motion to approve with a negative declaration.
Second.
Thank you both. Discussion on the motion? All in favor, then please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So that project plan review is approved. And we move to second one, same applicant.
The second new business item is Z2653M3. This is a project plan modification, project plan review modification to modify the floor plan, elevations, and site plan at 100 University Place in a planned institutional district. The applicant is requesting to modify a previously approved project plan review to construct an addition onto Link Hall. And they are now proposing to construct a vestibule entry addition with a new triangular shaped covered canopy, which is approximately 1,000 square feet. And it includes site work to provide universal access with sloped sidewalks as well as a metal canopy. And there are also certain interior building and life safety upgrades inside the building, and the proposal complies with Subdistrict 8 of the district plan.
Thank you. And we have supporting documentation for this project as well. Are there any questions regarding this modification?
I'm all set, thank you.
No questions, thank you.
Okay, good. In that case, is there a motion for action on this project plan review?
I move approval with a negative declaration.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion? Then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Project plan review is approved as well. Thank you for being here in case of questions, but there were none. But better to be safe.
Next new business item is 3 Mile Limit subdivision review in the town of Onondaga. This is 3S2113. The Globe subdivision is the name, and it's to divide one property into 2 new lots at 4994 and 5000 Velasco Road. Michael Glover is the owner and applicant.
And thank you for
Sorry,
that.
it's the Glover subdivision, not the Glove.
This subdivision has been approved by the city engineer, is that correct?
Yes.
So therefore, it appears as new business rather than a public hearing, as we used to do under the old system. Any questions on this?
No?
Okay, then is there a motion for action?
Move approval of the negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? And the 3-mile limit case in the town of Onondaga is approved. And we move to yet another section of our agenda.
This minor modification is SP 0609M1, and this is to modify a special permit to a restaurant to modify, I believe, the elevation at 2378 to 2390 James Street. It lies within a business class A zoning district, and also the JSO, which
James Street overlay.
Jeff was taking a shortcut and did not spell it out. So the James Street overlay, yes, yes, yes. So also, I did not mention, we just so happen to have a new floor plan, and so they're also modifying the floor plan. Now, this is the banquet room that it's part of the Palace Theater on James Street. There are 2 special permits on this property. One is for a cafe on the first floor, and this one is for the banquet room, which is most closely connected with why we're bringing this to you. The wall on Stafford Avenue is failing and crumbling, and in order to help them move along, we got as much information as we could about both special permits. Both need to be modified. However, this one was more closely related with the side wall and could be a new business item because the floor plan change is very minor. And the exterior wall has been reviewed by the Syracuse Landmark Preservation Board. And the proposal to not only update the floor plan, but to repair and, I want to say fix, but it's really adding a wall onto the exterior of the Palace Theater, which will extend into the right-of-way somewhat. It has to, because the building comes almost up to the property line. It does not necessitate any expanded or new waivers from the city zoning rules. You will see the special permit for the cafe next time, because that's a bigger, there's different changes there. But
And no public hearing is required on this.
not for this one, because it's not substantial.
Does anyone have questions regarding this?
No?
No, thank you.
Is there a motion for action on the special permit modification on James Street?
I move approval with a negative declaration on the condition that the Landmark Preservation Board's conditions be met.
Second.
Discussion on that motion. And all
I
in,
would say the landmarks people were very helpful to this person.
Say that again?
The landmarks people were very
Oh, they're
helpful.
helpful in this.
Yeah.
Okay.
that's good, yeah, and recommended, I guess, someone to look at the drainage issues to kind of get to the source of the problem.
Connected them with
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
to do that, yeah.
Good. Then, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So that permit modification is approved, and we have one more of these for a restaurant.
Yes, the next minor modification is SP 0907M4. This is a special permit modification to a restaurant to modify the floor plans and elevation at 120 to 124 Walton Street. This goes all the way through to Fayette. Armory Boys LLC is the owner, Bob Garner is the applicant. It lies within the Central Business District, General Service, Class A zoning district. They are requesting to modify the floor plans and elevation to establish dwelling units on the 2nd through 6th floors, and also infilling 3 windows on the east facade. The Preservation Board reviewed this proposal, and this does not alter the restaurant special permit use.
Are there questions on this project? Okay. Then the motion would be in order for action on SP 0907M4.
I move approval with a negative declaration noting compliance with the Preservation Board comments.
Second.
Discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So that one is approved, and we have one discussion item this evening before we move to the hearing authorizations for next meeting.
Yeah, so. Don't. ZIDA has requested to act as lead agency under seeker to redevelop 3 distinct buildings at 101 and 131 South Salina Street and 140 East Genesee Street. One is the Larned Building, which is a local protected site. Lemoyne College is in the 1st floor and the parking garage is above. And the other one is the M&T Bank Building. And I don't know what the other one is called, but they are, what'd you say?
No, I was just thinking out loud.
Oh, okay.
The bank is what's doing those apartments, right?
Yes. They want to establish 121 dwelling units in commercial and retail space. They will be doing interior and exterior renovations and is type 1 action under seeker.
Is it basically everything in that block from Salina to Warren that faces on?
Yeah, because it's the whole block, because that bank.
It seems like it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Except for, it's like a big cutout of like a,
There's nothing that faces on Hanover Square except the one facility. Everything else faces onto.
no, well, it's Salina, Washington, and East Genesee, which is closed. So I'm going to give you the EAF mapper summary report that they submitted with the seeker. I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was not on Dropbox. But
Yes,
It's the bank,
it's the bank,
big lobby in the
the
bank.
addition to the bank,
Yeah.
and then everything that's on Washington Street over to the Leonard.
Sorry about that.
a lot there.
Aren't are they converting garage space?
No, they're actually not doing anything to the Larned Building, really.
Isn't there garage space in that?
Oh, yes. Yes. There's garage in the Larned and then garage to the left. Correct. Yes, yes, yes.
All the garage stuff stays?
Yeah. Restoration of the original historic lobby, an additional 40,000 square feet on the ground floor of the bank building to be used as leasable commercial space. Upgrades to the building include HVAC, plumbing, electric, preservation and restoration of the building's exterior limestone masonry, window stone details, and the murals and artwork in the original lobby. Renovation of the garage spaces to serve both tenants and the public collectively. Acquisition and installation in and on the land and facility of furnitures, fixtures, and equipment. Granting of certain financial assistance in the form of exemptions from state and local sales and use tax and mortgage recording tax. Appointment of the company or its designee as an agent of the agency in connection with the acquisition, reconstruction, renovation, and equipment of the project facility, the lease of the land and facility by the agency pursuant to a lease agreement, and the acquisition of an interest in the equipment pursuant to a bill of sale from the company to the agency, and the sublease of the project facility back to the company pursuant to a sublease agreement. I'm thinking for Larned, yes. And let me just see. I got a new letter today, literally
Bank
today.
building, one would assume as well.
Yeah, so A. Okay, so here we go.
I'm.
Okay, so we've got the bank building, the M&T garage building, the Larned building. It'll be the reconstruction, renovation, equipping, and completion of the buildings to provide for 80,000 square feet of the top 8 floors of the bank building and the top 3 floors of the M&T garage building to contain the 121 units of loft-style apartments. 67,000 square feet of residential amenities, including a state-of-the-art fitness center, rooftop and open lounge seating areas. And then I read the rest, the restoration of the bank building. Right. It does not say.
The bank building is also in
Hanover, yes.
the local historic district, correct, as well as the national register.
Yes.
As I remember, the boundaries aren't exactly the same for those two, but
You know what, let me. No, I only think that the line goes, I'm sorry, I don't have a better map. I didn't get one from SIDA. But the appropriate reviews will take place, I assure you.
they're asking to be lead agency.
They would like to be lead agency, yes. Thank you.
Yeah, I think an appropriate response would be a motion to acquiesce to them taking that role.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion on that motion? And all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Abstentions, so we will communicate to them that this commission is on board with that approach.
Yes. And I do have one other thing to sort of discuss with you. I know it's not too early to talk about it, but the schedule for next year, typically.
It's definitely not too early before you know it.
I know. So we've done a couple different things throughout the years. Because we need to coordinate with other boards, namely the county planning board and the common council. Most of the time, we have a 4-week time period between the last December meeting and the first January meeting. It kind of gives us a little bit of breathing room to gear up for the new year and just provide more opportunities to get more stuff done. if we can, so we can either do the 3-week time frame and not skip a week, and the next meeting the first meeting in January would start on the 3rd and go from there. We could also do our 4-week schedule just for that time frame between the years, and it would start on the 10th. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, because sometimes we just make a decision based on other boards and hand you a schedule and you go, oh, it's great. But I thought maybe I'd give you an opportunity to do that. There are 2 meetings with that schedule scenario that need to be moved to a Tuesday. One is President, no, it's is it President's? The 21st of February, I think is President's Day. And then Columbus Day. So those would be the only 2 that need a Tuesday. If we went with starting at the 3rd, we would just move 1 to Tuesday. So, but we want to give a little more time between the county planning board's comments, so if any revisions need to be made, and this commission's schedule. If we start on the 10th, it allows for that time frame. But it's entirely up to you. You can think about it. You don't have to talk about it tonight, but I just wanted to put it in your heads what you thought was the best scenario.
We'll be open to starting on the 10th as long as we don't disadvantage anybody, but my guess is there might be less activity at the end of the calendar year anyways. But
You would think
that idea.
You would think that.
No.
So,
Which one allows for communication to be at the highest it can be, like in regards to the different agencies and us communicating with them?
well, it really just, the one that you start on the 10th just gives the applicant more time to respond if there's any comments at the county planning board level. And so sometimes that's nice, because then they can revise their plans if there's any modifications. And you're not getting handed a piece of paper tonight saying, oh, here's what the county planning board said, sorry, they said disapproval, and then the applicant doesn't even know about it. So we want to give everyone enough time to absorb that and, obviously know about it. So we don't want to surprise anybody. And, so anyways, think about it. Let me know.
Okay.
And then we can decide.
Next meeting, I can put
Meeting?
two schedules, I can put them out on paper and you can see the exact dates. We can talk about it. Okay, good.
That'll be time enough to publicize to.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yep. Mhm. Okay.
Other things for us tonight besides the authorization, or?
Yep.
just- And so what do we do? We've got 8 applications, and do we put placeholders in for the St. Joe's?
Yes, so you'll have 10 hearings, but I went through it, and 3 of the projects are companion pieces. So really, you only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
So I have a question about the first 2 that are listed.
Yes.
Is this the purpose-built student housing issue that we dealt with and have to be a lead agency on?
That's right, and the time frame will have expired by November 22nd for the lead agency request for seeker.
But will we have a substantial seeker submission from these folks, since we called it a type 1 action?
Yes, I have they did submit a long form, yes.
They submitted a long form.
They did.
Okay.
They submitted a.
I'm just wondering if we might, if they have adequately addressed all of the impact by just submitting a long form.
I believe if you issue, if you were to make a positive declaration, that would trigger the seeker process. And I'm thinking, like, as far as an environmental impact and scoping, that would most likely be where most of that is addressed.
We can make sure that we communicate with the attorney saying, before you come, please make sure you're adequately addressing any adverse impacts that may result in supplemental information from, on top of your seeker.
Yeah, not just identifying them, but if they're already thinking about mitigation, it would be to their benefit to tell us what they think that is.
Yeah,
And we,
okay.
maybe we would say it was a negative declaration based on the expanded long form, but given the scale of what they're proposing, there should be plenty of information
Addendum.
attached to, ouch, attached to their long form.
Okay, I will make sure they know that.
Thank you. I also had a question about the third one, the subdivision of the 3 properties in the 1600 Rojas South Salina Street,
Yes.
National Register District. So it would be good to have the Preservation Board's comments on what they think about making one of these gigantic lots in a place where there never were any.
Well, actually, so this has been, yes, this proposal has been changed several times. This is 3 properties into 3 new lots to build 3 houses.
Okay.
And you are correct, this is where the old Gothic cottage was. And I believe the New Jerusalem Church as well. So there have been several different proposals floating around, but the land bank accepted this proposal from home headquarters. They'll be building the houses.
Okay, so I think as long as we get the Preservation Board's comments on the size and the arrangement of the lots as it relates to the Preservation District itself,
Yes.
that would be good for us to know. And then,
Oh, okay, great. Yes, they did review it. Anything else?
other one, the one on West Fayette,
That is the Strathmore Paints property.
is the,
The tax credit project.
it is?
Yeah.
I was going to ask if it would seem to me that somewhere that's on the eligible list, I didn't know if it ever went further, but again, it would be good if it's on the list, obviously, to know what the Preservation Board thinks.
I think I just got some notice today about that. I don't know where it was, but, yeah, I'll let you know for sure next time, but yes, it's a big one as well.
Thank you.
These 8 that we see listed, plus 2 more for the revised St. Joe. Subdivision and the PID amendment.
Don't they have 3?
Just for
Is the third one, was it a new business, was it? Not
Is that-
public hearing, though?
What?
2 hearings and 1, 2 hearings and 1 was a new business.
Yes, 2 hearings and 1 is the project plan review, which really you can't necessarily act on because the common council has to approve the district plan amendment, but they asked that they be on altogether, so. I mean, it kind of makes sense. You can either hold it or condition it.
Is there a motion for those 10 public hearings?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. And so our last item of business, I think, is adjournment. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye, please. Aye.
I always think about that one time, probably like my first or second meeting, and we said aye for if you approve, and then nay for if you don't, and I said nay by accident. And like, I always think about it.